Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
Well, who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And what he do?
And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another edition of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer. And this is our first episode back after, guess what? We lost our content genius, Michael Rivers, and I'm wearing the cufflinks, the pearl handle pistol cufflinks that were so graciously gifted to me by the content genius that you know as Michael Rivers. But on November 16th, we lost him to drugs. Now, in our last video, the very last video we did, he posted that, and there were a lot of really negative comments. A lot of people were saying stuff like, "Oh, he's wasted, blah blah blah. You should know it." You know, you don't think that was lost on me? I mean, of course, I knew that, but struggled for 12 years with Michael over drugs. Bouts of sobriety, bouts of being in ERs. Bouts of being in ICU, bouts of going to treatment, refusing treatment. And he finally succumbed to, we got this autopsy report back. He was 6 feet tall and 127 pounds, guys. So let me just tell you a little bit about Michael. This episode is just going to be about the content genius, Michael Rivers. First of all, he didn't really like that moniker, the content genius. But somebody called him that, and I just thought it stuck. So we're going to go through some photographs, talk about some memories, talk about some things that, that I take away from his loss, but more things that I take away from the gift that he gave me in being my son. So we'll start out with a baby picture. This is Michael as an infant, and I remember the day that he was born. His mother and I were madly in love, and we were, as you know, if you're a fan of the channel, that we lost her to suicide in 2003, 22 years ago. And he never got over that. But I remember the day, when he was born, we didn't know if he was a boy or girl. And all of a sudden, she struggled and struggled and struggled through labor, and he came out and it's a boy. And I just screamed as loud as I could because I was so excited to have a son. And brought him home, and then he was my little buddy for the longest time. So he was my office, my partner in business. He was my friend. He was my son. We did a lot of things together over the years. And so let's just take a look at some of the photos throughout the years here. So there's Michael with his mother. These couple of photos here with our cowboy hats on. We were at a dude ranch. I'd take him to the dude ranch out in Colorado called the Black Mountain Ranch. And just the two of us because we didn't have his mother around, right? And so, we'd ride horses, shoot pool, go on trail rides. We were on a camp out, and these birds would come up, and I put these little pieces of bread on Michael's foot, and the bird just would come up and he'd sit right on it, and very difficult to think about this, to be honest with you. So we went on a cruise. You see him there's a picture of him with his 6 shooters at the dude ranch. And if you look at this last one here, there's a picture of him with a jacket and tie that I put on him. So when he goes to school, for his school pictures, I wanted him in a jacket and tie. I loved dressing him up. I absolutely loved, getting him like polo stuff. And then later on, you can tell that he did not dress the way I dress. He didn't have his hair coiffed the way I do. I mean, he was a totally different style. The other thing Michael and I did is, you can see there's a couple of him ski pictures here. Michael raced for a couple of years early on. And, I ski race. I do downhill, and it's just a beer league. But it's made me a much better skier. Well, Michael raced for a couple of years. Wasn't a super great racer or anything, but he certainly made him a hell of a skier. and he was fearless. And so we skied all over the place. We skied Breckenridge, and we skied all over the place. And he was just really, just an amazing, amazing person. Here's a picture of him on my boat. We drove, we spent a lot of time on the river together. This is one of my favorite pictures of Michael. He just looks so handsome and so together. You could see as he grew up, he got tall and thin. One of the things that Michael fancied more than anything else, and you can go see this on his Instagram, is he loved photography. He absolutely loved photography. And I think what I might do is, I think we might put some of his works on our website. He's got some incredible artwork that he did. And I think if we put some of that stuff out there, you guys might want to take advantage of that. So if you order it, we could print it out for you, frame it, and send it to you, or just send you an unframed copy too. But some of the art that he did was just amazing. He went to Guatemala when he was in college, spent about 10 days in Guatemala, and took over 4,000 photographs in Guatemala. And some of the things that he took, they're definitely artworthy. But that's who he was. One of the things that he did when he was at Augsburg College, it's Augsburg University now. One of the things he did at Augsburg, he got sober at Augsburg. Augsburg College has a program called Step Up. And it's a sober program, and I was kind of worried about that because, what is a college experience? Drinking beer, blah, 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 partying, But he really embraced his sobriety. That was when he was probably at his best, when he was in college. And they started a thing called Augsburg Knowledge, which was a program they had on Facebook, and they did game shows, and it was just, he got a 4.0. He was helping other people with homework. He was just incredibly bright. And, through all his troubles, those are probably some of his best years. We spent a lot of time together. And as you can see through these photographs, he was one of the kindest people I've ever met. But I will tell you, we struggled throughout the years. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he ran away. I mean, he hopped in his car and went down to Florida one time. And he was being bullied by another guy, and I said, well, leave him there. So he came back. He always came back, though. That was the one thing. He made him take it off. But all of a sudden, he would take off and then realize, I really shouldn't have done this. And then call me and said, Dad, I'm really sorry. But I just don't know why he would always take off. I love this picture right here. This is a picture where he's got his college sweatshirt on. He's at Augsburg in his dorm, and he looks that's Michael at his probably healthiest. I remember his very first year there. Halfway through this semester, I get a call that he's at the ER because he had overdosed on some derivative of Xanax, and I'm like, fuck, and the thing about it is, this was like the umpteenth time that because all through high school, we were taking him out of ERs. And I just looked at him and I'm like, what the hell? And I talked to the doctor and he said, is he going to be okay? And the doctor said, oh yeah, he'll be fine. He just has to sleep this off. I said, good, because I'm not going to be here anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. And it was shortly after that he got into the Step Up program at Augsburg. And I love this picture because that's him being sober. That's him kicking ass in school and just, figuring out, because one of the things that he didn't have was hope. So when he got kicked out of every high school he went to, and he was going through high school through a treatment facility, and he was down, he was depressed, didn't have hope, and all of a sudden I talked to the people at Augsburg, which is where I went, just a little college here in Minneapolis, private college, and he was getting his GED instead of finishing high school because he didn't have high school to fucking go to because he got kicked out for selling Xanax. He put an ad on fucking Facebook for selling Xanax in as a junior in high school. What do I say here? Stop your fucking self snitching. You know, I mean, and it was ridiculous. So he wound up being on probation, going through treatment, didn't finish high school. So this is like the fall of his, December of his senior year. Decided to get his GED. Guess what? He did his GED in like 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, like that. And so he graduated from high school. I said, let's go see what Augsburg has to offer. Augsburg had the step-up program. All of a sudden, he got into Augsburg, even though he had no grades, except for a good GED score to get in. And that was it. That was all he had. And but all of a sudden, he had some hope. He had some hope. You know, lack of hope creates desperation. And desperation creates despair. And if you have despair, you don't want to live. You know, you don't do anything. You know, you do drugs. You do, you can't do that. Remember what I always tell you guys about building your relationships, building this, building that? Michael and I were building the channel, but he just couldn't stop doing the fucking drugs. But when he realized, oh, maybe there is hope for me, the light bulb went off. And all of a sudden, he decides he gets into college. And this picture right here represents hope. And here he is, on the day of his graduation, sitting on the Augsburg College sign, or university. And one of the proudest days of my life. Because that first year he got like a 2.5. And I was happy with that because he fucking showed up. I was paying for college. Show up for college. But then after that, I think he wound up with a 3.5 or something like that, even after having that. So I would say he was on the dean's list almost every semester after that. Good photos here. I didn't realize it, but he was 6 feet tall. Never thought that he was that tall. Here's a picture. He's holding his wrist like this. I don't know what he's doing there in this photo, but that's a picture of he and I in Miami. He and I were in Miami for a podcast. We were on Fresh and Fit when we were basically early on, and he was just so excited because it was a recognition that all of a sudden, our channel is doing something. We have over 1.3 million subs now. And this is all because of his work, his editing, his ideas, his content. So, from the channel perspective, I owe a lot to him. But I was so proud of him, and I hope I told him every day. And now this is in LA. This is a picture of Michael with his camera on Rodeo Drive. This is a picture where we went and did Adam No Jumper. And then we had a blast. That was another big moment for him because, No Jumper was or channel that he used to follow back in the day. And here we are now guests of that channel. And one of the things we did on that channel is I brought them a bottle of tequila. Whenever you're a guest from somewhere, you always bring a little something, right? At least I do. And then they made a little video at the end saying who we smoke, because that's one of the videos that I did. It was about who I smoke. If you go back and look at that, that was kind of a big hit. But and they said they were smoking to Bruce Rivers. So that was just a big thrill for Michael.
Cheers. Bruce Rivers! Shout out to the only lawyer who ever gave me a $300 bottle of alcohol. Let's fucking go.
This is a picture of me and Michael in Portugal. We got an invitation from a fan to go to their wedding in Portugal. And this was last May. And I said, Michael, what do you say we go? And it was just on a whim that we went. And it was just amazing. We went there with our sweethearts, and we just had an amazing time. This is a picture of Michael and I together at a show that we sponsored. We sponsored a rap show here in Minneapolis, and just had a blast. And he's sober during all this. At least I thought he was. Michael and I again at work. I just love that boy. I really miss him. This is Michael and I showcasing his accomplishments, the two of us together at No Jumper. I loved him so much. So here's the deal. On November 16th, I knew something wasn't right with Michael, and I would have to check on him constantly. There was one incident back in March of last year where I couldn't get a hold of him. So I called his buddy Nick, and Nick went over to his house. He looked in the window, and he sees Michael on the floor. And he broke in and calls an ambulance and takes him to the hospital. And he goes into ICU for 4 days on an overdose. His arm was fucked up because he had been laying on it. And Nick basically saved his life that day. And every day after that, and even before that, I would check on Michael just to check on him. In May, he crashed his car. We got him a new car. In June, he crashed his car again. I let him use my car. In November, he crashed my car and then overdosed. So what happened was, on the November 16th, we filmed an episode. And he was a little messed up. And he posted one of the videos. You could tell he's messed up. And he would always tell me, I'm not using. But he was on Suboxone, right? And he said, this is just an effect of Suboxone, which was bullshit. He was buying all of his drugs on the dark web and having cocaine and whatever else they put in it shipped to his house. And then he was on muscle relaxers that he got from India. He was on this, he was on that. And I couldn't control it. And so, but I would always check on him. Michael, how are you doing? If I couldn't check on him or if I couldn't hear back, then I knew something was wrong. And on the 16th, I went over to his house and I checked on him. And he seemed fine, and then I left. And then the next morning, I said, Michael, and he wouldn't respond. I went over to his house. We got a locksmith, and I found him on the bathroom floor with face down, lighter in his hand, purple face because all the blood was rushed to his face. His nose was white, dead. And there's no greater pain than the death of a child. There just isn't. I miss him terribly. And some of you guys commenting weren't the nicest, and you can say what you want. But I tried. And I was so proud of him, and I'm still proud of him. I just wish those drugs wouldn't have taken hold of him the way they did. He wouldn't go to treatment. He wouldn't stop doing drugs. And he was 127 pounds when he died. And in the autopsy report, the cause of death was a death by overdose of a multiple cocktail of cocaine, methamphetamine, and some derivative of Xanax. That's basically what was in his system. So, as hard as it is, I tried to keep tabs on him 24/7, but you can't. He was 27 years old. He was a grown-ass man making his own decisions. But he probably should have been committed civilly, honestly. So when you talk about the drug market, and drugs being a victimless crime, no, you know better than that. So this is just to give you an update as to where we've been. We had his funeral just that very next week. And I haven't said anything publicly until just recently because it's just been so fucking hard. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't tear up thinking about it. And I try not to think about it too much. I have his pictures all over the place. His computer's here. Look at all these fucking lights. This shit is in my office, And I just would come to the office and I'd see his stuff around and it would just drive me crazy. Because I physically, would get sick. I thank God that I have my daughter Jacqueline and my fiance Chloe to be there for me and other family members, and it's just unbelievable. So if you have somebody in your life that's doing drugs, keep tabs on them the best you can and try to get them into treatment. Treatment does work. And if you're doing drugs, fucking stop. Just fucking stop, because you're hurting everybody around you. All right, we'll see you next time on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer with my pearl-handle pistol cufflinks that were so graciously given to me by a content genius that you know as Michael Rivers, my son, my pride and joy, and now my memory. And I'm just so grateful that he was in my life as long as I got to be with him. So we'll see you next time. We're gonna have a new show. We got new editors. All I gotta tell you is keep the ideas flowing and go to clrbrucerivers.com for merch. I think we're gonna try to put some art up there. I think that would be a good thing to do because that would be a good tribute to him, and the proceeds from that will go to fund my daughter's college education. We'll try that. How does that go? That's not going right into my pocket. So we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Thanks for being there for me, guys.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God.